Hey everyone, welcome back to Miniature Painting 101, a series of videos where I teach you all about painting miniatures from start to finish and everything in between. And this is part 64, Agrellan Earth, one of the cool technical paints from the Citadel range, which is used to create some interesting basing techniques. So today we'll be using Agrellan Earth to paint the base of the non-metallic metal Necron from a few videos ago. I figured might as well give him a nice base to go with his non-metallicness. And Agrellan Earth is one of those cool paints that you apply it just by itself onto the miniature. And as I said, today we'll be using Agrellan Earth. That's going to be the name of the game. Agrellan Earth, as I said, is a technical paint. It is a mid-tone light brown paint that is filled with Crackle medium. And so basically this tutorial also applies to Crackle mediums. You can add Crackle medium into paints. You can actually get it at most hobby stores. You can add it into your paints for the same effect. So of course you always want to give it a great shake until you get a nice consistency, a nice thick consistency, because the medium can occasionally separate from the paint if you leave it too long. So give it a great shake before proceeding. Of course add it into your palette as always, and then let's apply it to the miniature. So right now we're just taking it and we're going to apply it in a lot of amounts. Now the key is to this paint is you really want to apply it thick to the base. The thicker you apply it, kind of the better effect you will get. If you apply it really thin, you may not get much crackle at all. So I tend to apply even more paint to the base, almost twice as much as I normally would for any other paint to the base. So as I said, I'm just kind of loading it onto the base. And also feel free to mix up the thickness. Try with thicker amounts and thinner amounts. That way you get different effects in the end. But as I mentioned, you can buy a Crackle medium from most hobby stores, and most of the major paint companies sell them, and you can add to your individual paints for the same effect in the end. But just if you're adding it to your paint, go light on the Crackle medium, because otherwise it'll be a pretty interesting effect in the end. So I'm just loading it onto the base, getting it all on the base, trying to avoid the feet. I'm using a pretty thick brush. As you can see, I'm just loading on the amounts. I'm also trying to vary the amount on the base. As you can see, there are definitely lumps. It's not a very smooth texture, as I want to vary it up to mix up the Crackle effects. And that's pretty much it. This tutorial is going to be pretty simplistic, but it was requested by you. I got several messages lately about Agrellan Earth, so I figured I might as well make a video about it. And so the key then is, after this, is to let it dry. Let it dry for about 30 minutes at least, and then in the end you get this. It cracks. You get a bunch of cool crackle effects like the broken earth desert effect to it, and that's essentially it. The key is to let it dry, and then afterwards I always like to varnish after using this medium, because it's very fragile. With the amount of Crackle medium in the Agrellan Earth, I like to varnish the base, very lightly dusting it a couple times with some satin varnish. That way it protects it from future breakage. But that's it, and then in the end you get this really cool pattern. So Agrellan Earth is kind of a really cool paint. If you want to have this cool effect to your paints, either go and purchase some Crackle medium or use Agrellan Earth on your bases. They're both very effective. Now, one of the questions I do get frequently asked about Agrellan Earth, this was in the note that I received recently, is can you do anything to the Agrellan Earth bases after doing this base? Would you recommend, putting grass on, or most importantly, can I dry brush or overbrush over the Agrellan Earth? And the answer is technically yes, you can, but would I recommend it? I don't know. I would personally just leave it there. So as I said, the answer is technically yes. The reason is it is very fragile. As I said, I like to varnish it just to strengthen it. But even after varnishing it, as you can see here, this is a base that I have. This is a day later after I used it. It's on a different Necron, as you can see, it's a Crackle, but I just started dry brushing it myself, and I'd already removed one of the Crackle pieces. And so if you're going to dry brush, I recommend varnishing over it and then using a very soft textured dry brush and go very lightly over the pieces, because otherwise you're probably going to remove the pieces that are cracked in the paint. So go very lightly and strengthen your bonds if possible. As you see, I'm just loading up my brush again, and I'm going to re-dry brush, and I just removed another piece. As you can see, it is very fragile, and this is the next day. I've let it dry for a very long time. So could you do it? You can. In the end, I'd recommend just leaving the base the way it is, maybe applying some dead grass or another piece of vegetation. The dry brushing over is kind of risky. So thank you very much for watching this episode of Miniature Painting 101. I really hope you enjoyed it, and stay tuned for part 65, which is just around the corner. But if you don't want to wait for next week, check out The Warp. Click on the link for a free 14-day trial to my premium YouTube channel, where not only we get to see the next 6 months worth of Miniature Painting 101 episodes, you get to see over 50 start-to-finish painting tutorials, battle reports, face-off episodes, an Airbrush 101 series, just some awesome wargaming content, so go check out The Warp. I think you'll love it. So stay tuned for the next video. Until next time, this is Jay saying, happy painting, everyone.